Hello, welcome to the DADnB show, episode 6. I am Zach, Zoo22. I'm here with John, Good Shepherd, and Kevin, Ken K.
And now a segment brought to you by our sponsor, coffee.
Today I'm going to show you how to make a proper cup of coffee for making drum and bass. Start with good quality beans. If you buy your beans at Starbucks, they're terrible. Notes of berry, and that's what you want. You want to taste the bean itself, not the roast. First, you want to grind your beans right before they're brewed. Use a burr grinder. Burr grinder is going to make each ground the same size, which is what we're going for. Get a gooseneck kettle so you can pour slowly and specifically around the grounds. Get some fresh, filtered water. There are 2 ingredients in coffee. Do not use gross tap water. Start grinding. Then we're going to wet our cone. We'll heat up the mug and allow again for proper extraction and flow through the filter. 24 grams to every 350 grams of water. Do a 60 gram pour, slowly, just enough to wet all the grounds. This is called a bloom. Give it about 15 seconds to drip. We're going to do 90 gram, pouring from the outside in and rotating it around so you mix the grounds around. Then do another 100 gram, wait 15 seconds, and the final pour of 100 grams, and you should have a perfect cup.
What dad has time for that? Hey, honey, I'm gonna do a little 1-hour drum and bass session. Here's how you make coffee for a drum and bass session.
Coffee, it's better than tea.
I always figured that tea was just going to taste like hot brown water. And you know what? I was right. Yeah, it's horrible. No, thank you.
A third of the way into 2022, and we're creating, both procreating and creating drum and bass. And so, yeah, we have some big news, and I think we can maybe start with the DAD part of the DADnB and have Kevin tell us what his big news is.
Yeah, we got a new junglist in the family. Healthy little girl named Sienna. She's doing really well, very healthy, which is, all that you can hope for. I have lots of friends or relatives that are having trouble procreating, so we're just glad that we got it done and everything's healthy. Yep. So,
sure enough, yep, the oft not talked about struggles of getting pregnant, which I think we've all been through those. I think we all went through that, miscarriages and disappointment. And then when you actually get pregnant, it puts this whole fear factor into what should be a joyous period because you're always kind of on the edge. So yes, congratulations.
Yeah,
thanks.
Congrats, Kevin.
Thanks. Yeah,
it is kind of funny that when we're younger, or just think if you bump into your girlfriend, you're going to get her pregnant, and as we get older, it's a little harder than sometimes we anticipate. So and now I've actually started doing with the other child. He's now 6, and now he's really getting into drum and bass. We do music tests on the way to Little League, and I flip the radio dial and I'm like, what kind of music is this? I'll be like, jazz. What kind of music is this? Classical. What kind of music is this? Drum and bass. And he's always like, I like drum and bass. So. Austin,
yes.
right? That's
but
awesome.
Is it liquid or is this neuro? Or is this
what is the most prominent break in this song, son?
Yeah. I know pretty soon he'll be giving me notes on my snare.
Yeah.
If you can't pick out the worm, you become like the angry little league dad.
Yeah.
Damn it, son! It's hot pants. Don't you know better?
It's not to think. It's not to think. It's hot pants.
I know they call it Sandy, but it's not Sandy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, I mean, needless to say, I don't have a lot of progress on the other topic because, you know, I pretty much get an hour or two, maybe a day. And at that point, it's like, you know, maybe I mess around for a little bit of time in the DAW, but, you know, that's about it. So definitely the drum and bass is taking a little bit of a backseat, but that'll change in the next couple months, I imagine.
Yes. Hey, an hour a day is pretty good.
Yeah.
It's definitely better than nothing. What about you, John? What's going on there?
I
Got
feel
any more
like
kids?
it ebbs and flows. What'd you say?
Got any more kids?
No. In fact, I've made sure permanently that doesn't happen. So.
Yeah.
Anyways,
you unplug the XLR.
I got to do that in a year or two once I know Sienna's, you know, sticking around.
Yeah, you know, there's probably some people that will watch this and they'll go right over their head, but that's fine. That really is a DADnB joke.
Yeah.
In your 40s kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, you know, it ebbs and flows, right? The time you get to put in the music.
Yeah.
Because I kind of feel the same way too, Kevin. Like, I made a bit of a big push and have been going at it, but like, I want to say my kids had spring break. I didn't bring my laptop, and then maybe last week I spent some time, but I really have maybe spent 2 hours in production in the last week. So yeah, it's not happening as much as I'd like it to, but that's fine. That's fine. You know, it's a good break.
But let's have a look at that shirt you're wearing.
Oh, it's my hoodie. So
merch.
We all know about my baby, but I guess we haven't talked about it much as Good Friday sessions. And
on Twitch.
Huh?
On Twitch.
On Twitch, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Snoop calls it Tweotch.
That makes sense. But yeah, so I started just fiddling around, thinking about doing some merchandise for it. I know that just seemed like something fun to do. But the show's been going well. I had a lot of really good guests. Zach, maybe I'll just talk about it for a second. So Good Friday sessions, I want to say started back in October, and it's really picked up some momentum. Zoo 22, Zach, you're one of the residents along with Volition. And we've had good guests. Like we've had Winslow, we have Secret Structures, Mr. Burnt Yogurt, Alpha Rhythm's going to be on, Ben
Digital
Rolo,
Native,
K2T. Gosh, I don't want to leave people out and hurt.
Digital Native.
Yeah. Huh?
Digital
Thank
Native.
you. The Digital Native show is cool. Roz Fresh did a great job, but and then like Jason Inke, of course, has been key. Toya Koya, but what's coming up for the next series, May and June, I'm not going to be doing it as often because we have a vacation coming up. But Winslow wants to come back. Talking to Toby Colossus about being a guest, and then I think we're going to have Curly Roller, who is a female DJ. A lot of folks probably know about her from Twitch. And then our good friend in Austin, Corax. Oh, and then Tom Euphonics, right? He's definitely kind of like, he's like a DADnB brother to me, but on the other side of the ocean. He and I have been working together on a lot of stuff, and he'll be a third-time guest in May. So very cool. I'm really, really excited about it.
He's like the Anakin of 222 days. He's like
totally.
Extra.
He's such a solid guy.
Off the bench.
Yeah, and we've been collaborating on some stuff too, so it's pretty excited some of the things we got going on there.
Yeah, so John's talking about maybe just doing once, or taking 1 week a month off of Good Fridays, and I said, well, maybe I'll do Bad Fridays.
Yes, and it was funny because like he floated that, you mentioned it, we were just talking in passing, I think it was like last week, and then the next morning I'm like on a run and I was like, Bad Fridays, and I was like, I really like that idea, because I think we talked like the next day. I was like, dude, the Bad Fridays thing I really like. So
everybody's got to have a
sometimes you have
off.
a Bad Friday, right?
It'd be bad. I used to be DJ Virtue, it'd be DJ Vice.
Yeah. But I appreciate the help too, because doing a weekly, even on Twitch, it's a huge time commitment.
Yeah.
Every Friday. It is, full disclosure, taking a toll on my family. I'd say mainly my wife. She's like, seriously, every Friday. So yeah, but it's only an hour. But it's like, yeah, well, you DJ an hour, but you go on. So anyways, the thing is that I'm trying to dial it back, and that's why Zach is so key, and our good friend Volition, to help out and step in and just take the reins on the days that I can't do it. So yeah. Yeah,
and I just think, it's one of those things. It's like when we started 222, it was after kind of having experiences with other DJ crews of trying to get put on. Like, let me open for you. Can I go early? You have this night. I'll play when no one's there. I just want to get used to playing in the club. And no, nobody ever would do that. And, when we said we want to start a night, our whole idea was to, at first it was just to play our records loud. And then it just, it really evolved into like, we want to share our audience with as many people as we can. So, there's two things that this reminded me of. One is that was just like, we'll bring in, especially any acts from Texas that wanted to come in, we'll give you a 222 shirt, give you the prime slot and introduce you to people in San Antonio and the central Texas area. And that, John and I talked about this a lot. It's like, gives value, you're giving other people value. And at the same time, it's like, you're not just trying to take from somebody, but, they'll give back too. And that creates these relationships. And the other thing it reminds me of too, is it was like 222 was the same way, it was a big commitment. And, now we're not moving sound equipment and crates of records and stuff, but still it was like, after a while, it did get to where it's nice to have a 4.5-man DJ crew, because maybe some nights people can't show up or whatever. And then also, it's like, but then once in a while you just want to have, 222 night or, a DADnB night where it's just like the crew playing. But ultimately, I think it's a really cool thing to go beyond, to give back as much as we can with whatever we have right now. We have, want to have people on the show, women. I would like to get some moms on this show and have some women and, other genders, frankly, whatever, just have some variety on our shows and just connect with whoever's into drum and bass. And I think I love making the music, but I've always liked that about the scene. So we'll keep that up. And I guess where I am, I really appreciate, I'll try to build a segue here. I've really appreciated DJing on Twitch, Good Friday stuff, because it's got me out there buying music, not buying records, but buying music and listening to what's out there, which is just good from like a marketing my own music standpoint, an inspiration standpoint. But it just gets me hyped about the music, and I love DJing. And it just reminds me how much I love DJing. Like, even though it's not the same as playing live, or in a club, it is still playing live, and it's so fun. And I have been able to, I have been on this dream show that I just want to only work on it forever, because it's more like a normal job where, I hate to say that most Americans are working, 50 plus hours a week, but, I get a little downtime here and there. It's not every day spending all of my creative resources and just sitting at a computer with the mouse to where I don't want to produce. It's like I would send a cut out for the show that I'm working on and have the next day be kind of chill, and I can work during the day when my son is at school, and I can actually use my speakers and I'm not mixing on headphones, because that's part of my segue into, I've been sending out music And because I have started to feel comfortable enough and, I feel like confident enough in my music, getting some feedback, playing some tunes on Twitch, sending them some different people and getting some, positive feedback. I've sent out some demos, and I also sent, Mike Kiss some songs to review and give some feedback on. And then also just still doing the Think Breaks feedback sessions. And, I think it's a good thing for the most part. I'm just getting mixed feedback, and I think people are feeling the songs, but it's good and it's bad. I'm making good music. It's just mixed. It's not mixed that well, or, it needs improvement. But that's hard. That's the hardest part. And I go back and forth between these two, with a couple of things, and it's like muddiness in the middle or too thin in the middle. I've gotten those two notes, and I've gotten not bright enough in the high end and harsh in the high end. And
God.
it's like those two,
like Goldilocks.
and I go back and forth. Exactly. And it's like, I'm still, that is really where I'm grinding right now, is that. And Kevin, I'm sure this is like a big thing that you've experienced too, because, people expect these things to be delivered nearly mastered. And so, okay, now I'm using a limiter, I'm limiting, and I might be like limiting in stages and just trying to compress, do things softly or whatever. But in the end, that's, can start to make things harsh. And then, okay, well, I try to make them a little bit dull so that when they do start to get limited and pushed, then they're not so harsh. And then it's back and forth. And, it's tough,
Yeah.
It's humbling.
Yeah.
I think is the word that I will use. And,
Well, yeah, that's for sure. I mean, that's, part of why I always sort of get frustrated with the loudness wars. If everyone would agree to just make their stuff a little quieter, it would actually sound a lot better. And, there's this thing on faders called a volume fader, but, people can't be bothered to use it anymore. And yeah, it's a product of trying to make stuff so ridiculously loud, in a lot of cases, because it does introduce all sorts of intermodulation, distortion, and aliasing, and all sorts of ugliness. So yeah.
So, and it's like this myth that we talk about it's all about vibe, and everybody just says, man, don't worry about the mixing. It's all about vibe. But, I just have a hard time believing that I'm going to send a track to a record label and they'll be like, I can see, I see where you're going and it's good, let the label work with you to get the mix tight. I don't know. With all the submissions and all that's going on, and, I hear good stuff on these live streams, that already the mixing sounds good. It's hard to believe that they're going to want to take that time with a 45-year-old man who doesn't look like, whatever.
Child prodigy.
No, who's one of these pretty boys?
Justin Timberlake.
No, drum and bass. I don't know why I'm just blanking, but shows you who I like. I like Caliber. He's a good-looking man, but in like a George Clooney type of way.
The goat, man.
Old man.
He aged well. You look at him when he was younger, he was real pasty. Now he's like haggard and rough. Looks good. Salt and pepper. Going for that.
High contrast used to be the pretty boy, and I don't know if that flies anymore. Respect. No offense. Respect. I look terrible.
Well, Keno,
I look like a catcher's
Keno's a good-looking guy. He's they put his face out there a lot, and same with Deggs, right? So,
Deggs, I mean, geez, that guy. Yeah. But so.
But I'll tell you one thing, just a point, because I know we talk about vibes over technicals all the time, right? We hear this. The other thing is too, it's sometimes the ideas are good. It's the execution. So I'm basically saying something that's very synonymous, but the mix down is really, to your point, that's the tricky part, and people really do want something very close to done when you send it over. Because I used to think, well, I mean, I think we all did. Like, I'm gonna get this song and it's gonna be good enough, and then they're gonna magically make it sound better. And it's like, not really. I
actually thought the opposite, which has been a big impediment to me finishing songs. You know, being a perfectionist, I always thought the opposite, which is my stuff isn't, you know, to the level mix down wise, and so then I never sent stuff out. So it could be bad either way. You could be either, you know, it's like there's two sides to that. And I was on the other end of the spectrum.
Well, and I'll you know, then I'll segue out of that of like, that's why I just got to the point of like, okay, you know, I just need to start sending stuff out. Like,
yeah.
You know, it's not, if the ball doesn't continue to roll, then I'm stuck in the same place.
Yeah.
It's like I'll do some moonshots and I will send to some big labels. You know, part of sending it to Mike Kiss was like, I guess he's kind of doing some A&R for Hospital, you know, and just being humble about it. Just being like, look, you know, I would love to sign to Hospital or Gold Fat, but, you know, really I'm just looking for some feedback to push me, just to kind of present the idea, but in a really soft way that, hey, what do you think? And he said, you know, I don't think these are Gold Fat or Hospital records ready, and that's fine. I mean, it's a lot easier to accept than like some bottom tier label or something. But it's funny because in retrospect, I'm a little sad because like I listened to these mix downs and one of them is old. I did not realize how old Get Out is, and it could have been a lot better before I sent it to him. But whatever, I took it and I fixed it. I feel like, you know, that one, the drums, I may need to totally redo the drums on that. And I might feel it's not even worth it. I should just move on. But I think that my newer tracks definitely have more high-end sparkle without being too harsh, and are definitely less muddy in the middle. The bass on that track, because that's some of the feedback that he gave me. I know you guys read it, but like, people who listen to this, that's some of the feedback that I got was just muddiness in the middle. And, you know, it's just that bass just fills up so much of it. I don't know. Maybe I can't even make it work, but I remixed it. I think that it sounds better and it's progress. And I think I sent the tracks to another, you know, smaller label that are on the other end of the spectrum. They're the harder stuff. I don't really know that I want to say the name of it, but like, and there's so far some interest. I don't really know how much I have. It's only been a little over a week, so I'm not, you know, I'm just going to be patient, but there's been some positive feedback, so it may move forward. And, you know, I think those tracks, they're newer ones that I've done. They are mixed better. One of them crosses over to the notes I got from Mike Kiss, but it was the one that he said, this is the best one. It's got the best mix down and it's the best song. So I did his notes to it and I replaced it in the folder and told this label, hey, you know, there's a new mix in there and it's a wave and it's better. And just having sent this stuff out, I feel good, man. I feel like I'm, you know, the momentum is carrying forward. Maybe this will go with this label. I like stuff on their label. I would be very proud to have my stuff on it. Yeah, I mean, I would be stoked. I'd be really happy. So let's hope, you know. And it just shows me that, like, I just feel like, Kevin, like, you may not be able to get Tearjerker on Renegade hardware, but, you know, RAM or something. Renegade hardware. RAM is who I was thinking of. But I think
I'll send it out once I get one or two more finished. You know, then I'll have like 3 that I can send out. But yeah, I think, you know, it's worth sending out for sure.
Yeah, because Riot,
I can't.
You pretty much can't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
just gotta.
Well, you could send it to Focus, because I do believe
really
they'll do white labels sometimes. Just FYI.
Okay.
But bootlegs.
Speaking of white labels, Johnny's looking like a white label right now.
The problem is they're coming through a crack.
Oh yeah.
I can't close that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully something gets popping for me. And John, I'm not sure exactly what you're at liberty to share, but I know you've been sending out stuff and talking to some people.
Yeah, it's almost like I don't want to jinx it. Like the one label I'm talking to is based out of the US and the UK, and they want to do a 4-track EP with me, and they like 3 tracks. And they want to add in one more. So I've sent them like 3 or 4 tracks. I actually sent them the one that Kevin and I did together, Kevin, and they still haven't gotten back to me. And I sent a follow-up like yesterday because I hadn't heard from them in like 2 weeks. And I don't want to keep bothering them, but I mean,
Star Trek, I think is legit. So I cannot wait to hear their feedback on that.
Me too. Because the thing is like, if they want to pass on it, there's like 5 other labels that I want to talk to you about taking it to them, because when I play it on the Twitch stream, everybody likes it. Like, it goes off really well. Mm-hmm. It got really good feedback on the Think Breaks podcast. So that's one of the things I think I'm learning too, is you spend all this time in production making music and then actually trying to find labels where your music fits, because there are so many labels out there that I didn't even know about when I first got into this. Mm-hmm. And then when you actually do align with them, they don't move quite as fast as your anxiousness
for sure
would like. So it's definitely taught me a lot of patience.
Well, and not only that, then you have to wait potentially a month for a label to get back to you, and you're not supposed to send that song out to other labels. So it could take you send it to 6 labels, they each take a month to get back to you. You've just lost 6 months trying to shop a track around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one thing I would want, like, anybody listening to the podcast or show, whatever we call this, has any advice on that. That's what I would like to know, is like, what is a time limit? Because yeah, for sure. I mean, John and I have talked about, like, I have heard from so many people that this is the process. So many people are like, by the time a track comes out, I've like forgotten about it. Like, I'll hear it and I'll be like, geez, I made that a year ago. Mm-hmm. Like, I've heard that a lot of different places. Yeah. A lot of people say that. And so that's what I told John. I was like, if you're not hearing back and it's taking forever, you can kind of smile, because you're doing it. You're doing it. This is like we always talk about with my son. You're a real guy.
And
you're
I'm
like
okay.
A real guy. Yeah. Like you're doing it. You're going through what they call in Hollywood development hell, where it just like cycles around. You think it's about to go, and then, oh no, we actually want to do this, or, whatever it is. But that said, I still would like to know what people think about, like, okay, I think a reasonable amount of time to not hear back at all is 3 weeks. 3 weeks. If you haven't heard back in 3 weeks, to me, you can kind of assume, especially like, I sent my stuff to V. I said, I'll give him 3 weeks. 3 weeks went by. Somebody listened to it and didn't like it, and it's gone. So cool. Now I feel like I could take those tracks, send them to whoever. But with a label that says, oh, we like these, let's talk more, blah, blah, blah. Like, then, just like us, most of these people have like other jobs, families, whatever. It's like, I have to be understanding. So at least where I'm coming from, it's like, I got to make more tracks.
I mean, my thing is
like, I got it that, because if I get another demo, there are 3 tracks, I can send those to different people. And then we just have, parlay, then we have more stuff out there and more opportunities to make it pop. If those other ones come back to me, then I can send those out again.
I just wish that you could, we've been told by some legit artists that you're really only supposed to send your track to one label at a time. And that's the thing that I wish we could send our tracks to, say, 3 labels, and be upfront with the labels and be like, I'm sending this to you and 2 other labels only because I know this process takes forever. And, it could take 6 months to a year to get a track signed. And, it's like, I get that you guys have a lot going on, but I also, as an artist, have things I'm trying to get going, but we're just supposed to send it out apparently to one label at a time and just like wait and wait and wait, and I wish we could just be upfront and send it to a couple, 2 to 3 labels, at least then you potentially, and just be upfront, and I don't, I wonder what the labels would think about that. To me, I think people appreciate honesty. And if you just, explain it in a reasonable way, I find it hard to believe that they would be like totally offended by that, but I don't know.
Well, maybe. I mean, it's like, we aren't special, it's like, oh, if you made this music and you thought it would be good for our label, but you're just giving it to anybody. I mean, I don't know. I'm just devil's advocate. I don't know what the reason would be, but I mean, to me, it just comes down to this another thing, John and I've talked about, I don't know if I've talked about it with you, Kevin, is this preciousness idea that like I refuse to be precious with my music because I want to be of the mindset that my next track is always still in front of me. And so if a label is sitting on a track, that's okay because right now I'm making another one that's even better. I don't want to ever get so precious that I think, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever done. I'm never going to do better than this. Like just as an attitude to kind of manifest that happening. Maybe it's true. Maybe the Dungeons of Youth was the best track I've ever made.
I agree.
I don't think that now.
It was. The rest of your stuff is awful.
I mean, I think everyone is probably always improving. It's so for me, it's not. I agree. I mean, I'm certainly. To the point where, to your point, I think because I'm not precious, I would like to. I don't think that any one track is destined for one label. I'm not precious. I think any track could probably go to multiple labels, and I just like, it's just the waiting game. The whole like one label at a time thing is really hard on the artist, to you're trying to get momentum or whatever. So
and that's why, I guess that's my point, is to solve, my way of solving the anxiety is to make more.
Here's the thought
and then send that out to somebody else.
Yeah. I guess it just hit me while we were talking about it is, the problem that we're talking about right now, I think it goes away. Hypothesis. It's likely to go away once you get hooked up with more labels and you become part of that stable of labels, right? You like my alliteration, stable of labels? Mm-hmm. Anyways, in being like, so let me give you, for example, I've been sending out demos for probably a year now and managed to talk and make good contacts with a lot of different labels. And they've all been like in the beginning, like, hey, good ideas, but here's some technical things or some stuff you should work on, but keep sending us tracks. And I keep doing it. And they're like, wow, you've improved. And it's getting to a point now where I have relationships with these people where they're used to me sending them tracks. So some are liquid, some are kind of harder stuff. So that's, let me answer this. So I think at a certain point you get hooked up with enough, like you're just giving your tracks to like 2 or 3 labels, Kevin. Mm-hmm. So like the waiting period isn't a big deal because you already know one of these 3 labels that have already released your tracks are likely going to pick it up. So maybe you're going to give label X dibs on the next batch of tracks and label Y dibs on the ones after that, and then it becomes less stressful. Mm-hmm. But until we get picked up and get signed, you're just kind of throwing tracks into a void, and there's this endless waiting period.
I think that's right.
Maybe that solves it.
Yeah, I think it does.
And then just the other things.
Well, and even further, they're gonna, they start asking you for stuff.
Yeah.
Like they're coming to you.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, hey, we're thinking of doing this and that.
And here's the interesting thing too, is when you start playing, like I love playing some demos on Twitch or we do them on the live streams. I'm starting to get people that hit me up and are like, hey, that song sounds pretty good. Do you want me to shop it to this label or that label? So that's like all the things that we've been waiting for the three of us are starting to happen now. Right? Like Zach's talking to a label. I'm talking to one. Kevin, you and I made a really good track. You've already have Tearjerker, which is amazing. It's just a matter of kind of like, I feel like we put in the work. We need to continue the momentum, but it just feels like once you clear that hurdle, for me, it's, and Zach, maybe for you too, is it's given me so much more confidence and security in what I'm doing now. Like sometimes now I hear somebody say, well, you should do this. And I'm like, no, that's not what I'm trying to do with this track. Like I appreciate it, but
yeah.
You know,
yeah.
so.
Well, and I think Kevin, you know, you could just consider that, like, as far as I'm concerned, if you only have time for one thing, just create. And John and I will, you know, John's way ahead of me, and I don't have as much time, or, you know, or at least I'm coming up behind him or whatever it is. But it's like, we've already talked about this label that I'm talking to. I think your style would definitely fit with what they do. And it's like, if this experience goes well, I definitely can just be like, you just keep making music, send it to me and I'll send it to them.
Yeah.
You know, but that's the thing too. It's like, it's so much different when it's like, send an email to this guy at the label compared to get on Label Engine on their website and throw it on the stack.
Oh, big difference.
And so I think between my tiny little foothold and all of John's, you know, connections, with your busy schedule, we're in this together for a reason. You know, it's to help each other and to do whatever aspects we are good at.
I'm going to have a month in Colorado this summer when our son's in camp, and, you know, my wife's still on maternity leave, and I'm going to bring my laptop, and, you know, he'll be in day camp, and I'll have a lot of time in like June and July to really get some stuff done.
Yeah, not to say, I mean, you have enough of a presence on Discord at this point that I think you know, have some connections of your own. Yeah. Just put it out there that you know, when you're ready, because, you know, I'm the same way. I wasn't going to start doing this until I felt like I wanted to have like really like 6 to 8, you know, 3 that are kind of like funky, liquidy, soulful, and 3 that were like heavy, so that I could, because I want to make different kinds of drum and bass. I think we all do. But I'm not going to send a liquid, a jungle, and you know, a neuro track to one label. You're like, I don't know. What do you think? You know, that's what I'm told is not to do, and it makes sense. Even though I think some of these labels do put out all of those. It's better to be like, if you send 3 liquid tracks and they're not feeling them, say, well, hey, what do you think of my heavier stuff? Here's 3. That way they're not like, oh, see, did you just get lucky with this? That's always been my thing, is I want to make sure that they don't think I'm just getting lucky, you know?
Right.
Much.
Yeah. I mean, and that is the issue, is that I kind of have like one of each genre. So yeah, at least have 2 in each sort of subgenre.
Yeah, and I think that my stuff has common elements, but there's definitely part of me that wants to get away from some of them, particularly this kind of bass that I have in some of my songs. It's just a hoe to mix, and I don't want to do it anymore. You know, I've heard some of my new ones. The bass is different. There's more space in it. You know, I listen to a lot of songs that I like, and it's just kind of a good warm sub with harmonics. There's not all this information in the mid and high ranges. It doesn't always have to be distorted and crazy or foghorny or whatever. It can just be a good sub that has enough, you know, harmonics to play on a smaller speaker, and let all the rest of the stuff fill the rest of the, you know, spectrum. So yeah, me and John have well, I made a raga track. John kind of made a raga track too for this jungle.
Nice.
Think Breaks Jungle.
Yes.
What about the man like Ken K?
Oh, no way. I didn't even know. You had to tell me that they were doing that. I'm so.
You got 20.
Yeah.
I think you got 26 days, man.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
You got time.
Last time you got to send me yours, and then I got FOMO, and then I made my.
Okay. Well, John already played his. John's is already public. Did you listen to mine, John?
No, is it in the folder that you sent me?
Yeah, but it's got a weird name, and it's in the sketches folder. So I'm not positive you can go. The sketches folder is in the current dubs folder.
222 current dubs.
Can you go into the sketches folder within that?
Yeah, hang on.
So it's in progress.
It's way down.
Well, I mean.
You got all these dubs. You just got all, okay.
Well, a lot of those probably will never, a lot of the sketches will probably never see the light.
I would honestly have to do some research too on like what exactly defines the genre, or the subgenre.
I mean, I feel
Zach,
like
what's the name? Is it Book Them?
No, that sounds like Book 'em, but that's a good guess because that would count as jungle. It's not
Paper 2-4?
No, it's not a jungle-y sounding.
Okay, which one is it?
Oh, do you want to guess again? Okay.
Yes, kind of. Strummers?
No, that's the new. That one's.
Oh, okay.
Sketch
_5. I'm going to go with that one.
No, it's called Bed Too Big. It's an interesting take, and I don't know.
It's not in here.
Bed Too Big's not in there?
Oh, it is. There we go. Yeah. My screen it was stuck on Ohio Guitar, so I didn't see Bed Too Big above it. Bed Too Big. Is the bed too big?
Yeah, so it's an interesting take, interpretation.
Cool.
I don't know if I want to reveal it, with the thing break.
Yeah, you gotta save it for think.
But yeah, I don't know if all the vocal elements will live. But to your point, Kevin, I feel like it's worth discussing. I mean, I went back and watched a really cool documentary about jungle, and I forget what it's called. It's called London something, I think, and it's like a 45-minute doc about the pioneers of the scene, the early jungle scene. Lots of talk about it, and so just the music on that. But I think the main thing is just the sound, any of the sounds from the early days of the transition from like acid house into hardcore and then jungle. So my original thought was like, I want to make a raga track, because I heard him, I just thought it was raga. So, and I was like, yes, I've been wanting to do this. So I just made one. And then I realized it was jungle, and I was like, oh, maybe I would like to make something that was like 160, 165, and have just, classics, think break, or amens, or both, and, or just worm, they use worm a lot, just like whatever, classic breaks, and, anything from the moving shadow kind of stuff, as far as what I would like to end up making, or LTJ Book 'em, to like raga. But like once it gets like into jump up, I feel like now it's still maybe jungle, but if you want to stay era specific. But the other thing is that they're starting to do what they always do, just like they've done with hip hop and what's called hip hop now, or reggae, people call reggaeton reggae, and so it's like they start to change what the name means. And so now you've got footwork. I can't even tell you exactly what footwork is. And then people saying jungle. And I think there's a more modern interpretation of it. But to me, what I think this Think Break Challenge is about is the stuff I talked about. Classic breaks, nothing beyond kind of Reese basses, or like, I don't know what you call those basses that are kind of like, bop, bop, bop. No foghorns.
Oh, yeah.
See, when I think of jungle, too, I also think of really anything that was on Metalhead's Platinum Breaks 1, right? Doc Scott, Dillinger, Lemon D, Pache.
Yeah, but how is Raga different than Jungle? That's because I know
primarily vocal samples,
you know.
and vocal samples and upbeat guitars, like primarily, and horns, reggae samples. Primarily.
I feel like the bass lines are a little more basic in Raga tracks too.
But it's like, yeah, it's like dubby bass.
And they hit a higher octave sometimes too in that mid bass. I don't know.
Yeah. Sounds fun.
Like I feel like you could go in either direction. You can go like raga-y, or you can go in that like ethereal,
right?
You know, or even, you know, that metalhead stuff. Early Ray Keith maybe, but just don't push too far into the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's so cool about this
challenge.
Yeah, it's like, let's see how everybody interprets it. John and I feel like are pretty close on how we interpreted it, but I have a feeling I really hope Shodan does it. I think they're collabing.
And K2T.
I think they might be. The three of them might be collabing on.
So he played one when Karen was a guest. Or no, it was on Mr. Burnt Yogurt last Friday, and I jotted it down. It's called like, sorry about the background noise, like Exhaust or something. It's a one-word title, and it's Shodan Colossus and Karen K2T, and it is really, really good. And I'm sensing now that you bring it up that they said it's unreleased. It's probably
yeah.
Those guys, they need to come up with a separate name.
Yeah,
and collaborate a lot, because like their three sensibilities
3 minute a break beat,
and they all use different DAWs. That's a lot of stem bouncing they must be doing back and forth.
Well, they did a live stream and a production live stream, and I could only watch a little bit of it, but it might still be up on K2's. I think it was on K2T's. I'm pretty sure on his Twitch, and it was Shodan driving in Ableton, and you know, all audio. But
when they would fly it, they would send them files like.
Well, I didn't stick around long. It is kind of like watching paint dry.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So
that's better to watch in double time once the video is fully done.
Yeah,
but it's the conversations though that I partly want to hear. Like what they need is the chat to be like, you know, I want to say like, hey, wait, like, you know, when Josh has done a few, Siren has done a few on Discord with live audio, so people can be like, oh, where'd you get that sound? Or you know, that would bug me to no end when I was working, but like, it's cool that he would do it, and just to be able to ask live, like, you know, that's what I'm dying for. You know, that's what I'm really missing. And you know, it's like I could get back on, try to do some Zoom lessons, but I wish that I could get into the studio with somebody like, you know, somebody like Shodan, and just have him just sit behind me in the DAW and be like, you're over compressing. You know, it's this, or, you know, it's this sound. This sound is never going to be there, so stop messing with it.
Yeah.
You have to let go of this sound, or, you know, the sound is fine. It's just, you know, you can, you know, I see what you're trying to do. It just needs to scoop out, you know, the 500s or so. But instead I'm feeling around, outputting, listening on speakers, headphones, car, iPhone, and around and around and around in like an echo chamber, and it's tough. I should also take, you know, I finally sent stuff to Mike's, but I should also take more advantage of the Discords and put stuff up there for feedback. And what I need is feedback that's not just like, you know, it's too muddy in the middle. Yeah, with the
Discords, you don't know who's giving you the feedback necessarily, if there's someone you should really
Yep.
Well, Siren will, and he's a guy who's like, dude, their music is so busy and so full.
It is.
Like, if there's any, and not to mention he uses Fruity Loops, but like, the drums are always still so clear and present, even when the bass is just like, you know. So, I would trust his advice. I want to make some big bad bass.
I saw that. So I got.
How did that one get pulled up? Well, I was just looking through records. I don't know. I certainly didn't place that there. Well,
like
I just had to pick one because I'll show you what was up. Serato. This is Serato. And then I was like, I'll just put the next one and look at what the next one is.
White label. Scratch. Nice.
Yeah, a selection for Lane. The rest is drum and bass.
Nice.
Up.
You redeemed yourself.
But yeah. Well, what else, fellas?
All right.
Hotels, fellas. We're coming. We're here. We've pretty much done an hour as planned.
Yeah, that was perfect.
Yeah. So, is there anything we want to discuss? I mean, you know, we're going to keep going with Good Fridays. Maybe keep an eye out for Bad Fridays coming up.
I mean, one of these days, I'm going to get a little controller and I'll get some lessons from Zach, and you can maybe have a more backup DJs when you've got, you know, out of state gymnastics tournaments.
Kevin, you know, you've already got an invite. So I've told you, like, this is all part of the plan, is to get you to DJ too.
I found a good deal on this one controller on Facebook Marketplace, and I sent the guy a private message, and he never got back to me because it's one of those things where it almost seemed too good to be true. So I didn't pull the trigger on it. It was that FLX 6 or whatever that's got 4 channels, and he was asking $400 for it, which I think that's an appropriate price. I think, you know, they're a little bit overpriced. But everyone seems to think that, if you can get one for $400, then it's worth it. So anyway, that's why it got stalled, because I didn't quite trust that guy.
I know you will like it and you will have fun. That's one of the reasons I want you to do it. Cool. So hopefully the next time we check in for episode 7, we will be announcing a release. At the very least, a self-release, but fingers crossed.
Maybe a new baby.
Yeah, maybe Johnny.
If we can't get a release, let's at least get another kid.
Okay.
Release, all right.
That's right.
Johnny's the only one that can release without worrying.
Yes.
Ouch.
All right. See y'all later.
All right. Say hi to the families.